Welcome to the special transmission where we are covering events in Afghanistan and Pakistan as they are unfolding fast. To bring you up to speed, Pakistani warplanes struck the Afghan capital Kabul overnight, the first Pakistani airstrikes on Kabul in the current conflict. They also hit the southern city of Kandahar and the southeastern province of Paktia. Pakistan's Defense Minister Khwaja Asif said his country's, and I quote, patience has run out, declaring it now open war with the Taliban government. The strikes came hours after Afghanistan launched what it called large-scale offensive operations against Pakistani military positions along the Durand Line border, itself a response to Pakistani airstrikes last Sunday that killed at least 18 people, including children in Nangarhar province. Pakistan claims it has killed at least 130 Afghan Taliban fighters. Afghanistan says Pakistani soldiers were killed in its cross-border attacks. The UN Secretary General says he's closely monitoring the situation. China, Russia, Turkey, and Iran are all calling for a restraint. A Qatar-mediated ceasefire from October 2025 now appears effectively broken. The conflict stems from Pakistan's long-standing accusation that Afghanistan's Taliban government is providing safe haven to the Pakistani Taliban, which has carried out deadly attacks inside Pakistan. For more on this, let's go live to our team of reporters. Hunain Amin joining us live from Islamabad and Shabnam Nasimi in London. Hunain, I'll come to you first because you are where all the action is. We are hearing Pakistan describe this as open war. But is Islamabad actually prepared for a sustained military campaign against Afghanistan, or is this more of a pressure tactic to force the Taliban back to the negotiating table?
Well, I'll start with just telling as we speak right now, there's a press conference going on part of ISPR who are explaining the casualties, the afflictions that have been caused by either side. According to ISPR, this has been a victory for Pakistan so far, and Pakistan has been on the progressive end in this conflict, which has now been dubbed a war. Also, go on to say that there is a illusion in the Pakistani leadership when it comes to this war because it's all the fault lines, the big lines have been blurred, and it's now us against them. Uh, but that is only as far as the two countries and the war situation is concerned. But when it comes to people here locally, people do not want war for any country's military. It is a proud title, it is a proud description to be dubbed as battle hardened, but Pakistani people have also been battle hardened, militancy hardened, and whatnot. So Pakistani people are not liking, for example, for that matter, not the way I have reported on the ground as well, Pakistani people do not like the idea of engaging in any one of new conflicts because Pakistan has not maintained any friendly ties with its neighbors, sans China. So Pakistani people again do not like this nomenclature, but again you ask about the military. The military is trying to maintain such a nomenclature that is radicalized and militarized both because they have cooperation as a fury of the righteousness or the righteous fury, as if the god is deeming it fit to respond to whatever has been happening. So yes, both sides have their contacts, their narratives, their notions, but at the end of the day people are suffering because the casualties have been afflicted to the people, the civilians, more than on the armed forces.
Since you spoke about the narratives, Hunain, I want you to answer this question very quickly. Pakistani strikes have hit deep inside Afghan territory. How's the Pakistani public and political establishment reacting to this?
No, for example, for Pakistan, it is not something to be taken to be taking with pride because Pakistan has that access. Pakistan has that privilege of having an air force far greater than any of the artillery that can be pitted against it by Afghan forces. But on the other, Afghan forces have threatened something differently, and it is their target can be Pakistani civilian establishments, and what we have seen and Pakistan's it, it all Pakistan while Pakistan goes on a front with Afghanistan, Pakistan is also risking uh, suffering again what it has suffered in the recent past. And Pakistan is also sort of, it's a very ironic situation that Pakistan says that Afghanistan is nurturing those anti-Pakistan militants, but at the same time, Pakistan is giving them the reason instead of bringing them onto the dialogue table. Pakistan is escalating it. So yes, I think uh, it's just ironic
Yeah.
to be
Yeah,
fair.
yeah. Yunain, please stay on the top of that story because developments are happening fast. And viewers of South Era Network, for viewers of South Era Network, this is a big story, and as it is for us as well. Shabnam, to you now. We are getting reactions from around the world to Pakistan's declaration of open war. So, help us understand, how is Afghanistan seeing this? Because of course we heard we heard the Pakistani version, but get us up to speed with how is Taliban, how is Afghanistan putting it out to the world? What facts are you picking up from them?
Thank you, Sahil. And just before I get into Afghanistan, I think the message from the world, as you've said, it has become consistent. The key word is restraint. But if we look closer, actually, with the reactions that we're seeing from across the region, it does actually reveal a lot more of where each country stands in this conflict. I mean, if we start with Iran, for instance, because Tehran's response is arguably the most significant today, Iran shares a border with both countries, and its Minister Abbas Araghchi has come out urging for both sides to resolve their differences through dialogue, especially invoking Ramadan, calling this a time of Islamic solidarity. Iran has also offered to mediate. This is a notable move because Tehran has historically had its own tense relationship with the Taliban. But I think right now, a war on its eastern border is the last thing that Iran needs. We have Turkey's foreign minister who's been on the phone with counterparts in Pakistan, Afghanistan, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia, all in the last few hours. Ankara was the city, the capital that brokered the October ceasefire last year that has now collapsed. So it's clearly trying to pull things back from the edge again. We have China, who is Pakistan's closest strategic ally. They've also said that it's deeply concerned and has been mediating through its own channels. And Beijing wants stability in Pakistan's western border, especially with its Belt and Road investment in the region. Russia has gone further. They've called for an immediate halt to cross-border attacks and have offered to mediate if both sides agree. And then there's India, whose reactions actually stand apart from all the others. New Delhi has strongly condemned Pakistan's airstrikes, calling them another attempt by Islamabad, in their words, to externalize its internal failures. And that's a pointed statement. I think Pakistan has accused India of backing militant groups in both Afghanistan and Pakistan, allegations that India denies. But the fact that India is openly siding with Kabul will only deepen Islamabad's suspicions. And now to your question on Afghanistan's perspective, the Taliban's position has been unwavering throughout. They deny sheltering the TTP, Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan. They say Pakistan is bombing civilian homes, mosques, and families, not militants. And rather than back down, they've launched what they call large-scale offensive operations against Pakistan's military positions overnight. From Kabul's point of view, what we're seeing is this is about sovereignty, about a border that they've never really formally recognized between Afghanistan and Pakistan, the Durand Line being bombed by a neighbor they once called an ally. So the international community is definitely lining up to mediate, but right now on the ground, the guns are still firing.
And the Durand Line is currently hot. Thank you so much, Shabnam, for helping us understand Afghanistan's side of the story, and also to you, Hunain. We'll keep going back to our team of reporters through the day. Let's now also get some more reaction from Kathy Gannon, a journalist who has covered the region extensively for years. First, what I want to understand, you have, of course, covered Afghanistan and Pakistan through multiple cycles of conflict and diplomacy. Does this feel different to you? Is there something about this escalation that suggests it could spiral beyond what we have seen so far?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly is an escalation. There's no question about that. It certainly is an escalation. And it's a dangerous escalation because the dynamics have also changed in terms of India has...
Please go ahead. We can hear you loud and clear.
Can you hear me?
Very clearly. Very clearly.
Okay. Sorry. So, because the dynamics of the region has changed. So what has happened is late last year, India and Afghanistan, the Afghan Taliban increased ties, and India upgraded their embassy in Kabul, and as a result, Pakistan has felt squeezed between the two. But what it's done is it's exacerbated what is a hostile environment between Pakistan and Afghanistan, between India and Pakistan. I think it's definitely an escalation. It's definitely a danger for the region for two reasons. One, the way to go to a deactivation is very difficult to imagine. There have been temporary ceasefires. There have been attempts at getting the two sides to talk. They have talked, and it continually returns back to this back and forth attack. Pakistan, in fairness, Pakistan is since 2021 suffered numerous attacks, particularly against its security agencies, its military. So more than 1,000 have died. In fairness to Afghanistan, they always feel that Pakistan treats them as if it's an addendum of Pakistan. And so there is that long-standing animosity between the two countries. Then you have the animosity now between that has brought in India, now that India and the Afghan Taliban have increased their ties. So what you have is the danger of an escalation that increases the involvement of other countries in the region, most particularly India. And then you have the militancy. There are militants in Pakistan. There are militants in Afghanistan. The UN has said there's upwards of 10,000 Pakistani Taliban in Afghanistan. You have the Islamic State in Khorasan province in Afghanistan, in Pakistan. You also have the Islamic State Pakistan province, which is a small sort of subsidiary of the ISKP. So the complexity of the region is deeply intense. It's not clear how you de-escalate. Certainly no one has been able to do it in past attempts. It's particularly precarious today because you have the increased ties between Afghanistan and India. And also it must be noted here that every country in the region have used militants as proxies. Pakistan has used them against India. India has used them against Pakistan. Afghanistan has used them against Pakistan, and each has used them against each other. So no country is without blame for using the militants. And there's an increasing numbers of militants in the region. And that only exacerbates the problem. It's a nuclear armed region. So it is a very dangerous time if escalation is allowed to continue. And at the same time, it's very difficult to see how you can de-escalate. There's very few people with the leverage. Of course, China has leverage. Of course, Russia has some leverage. But enough to stop this, it's not clear how that would happen.
Right. So now, given what you are saying, and let me add, just to add to that, the Taliban fought for 20 years to control Afghanistan. So how does a group that built its entire identity on resisting foreign military intervention now respond to Pakistani jets over Kabul without looking weak to its own people?
Yeah, no, I don't think there's a danger of the Afghan Taliban looking weak to their own people. This is not the first time Pakistan has bombed further inside Afghanistan. They did bomb Kabul, I believe, late last year. They did have several forays inside. This is definitely an escalation. I don't think the concern for the Afghan Taliban is that they look weak to their own people. I don't think that's a danger. I certainly think that the Afghan Taliban, there's deep animosity between the two countries and the border region. And as one of your reporters so rightly said, it's never been settled. And the Afghan government, the Afghan Taliban, are very clear that that border will not be recognized. And so what has really been striking this time is that the Afghanistan Taliban have taken over several Pakistani military posts along the border. Pakistan says it's retaken them. So both sides have crept into the other side's territory. And that's an escalation. The question, though, is more important is how do you de-escalate? Is it possible to de-escalate? Who could help de-escalate? So far, there's no obvious choices for that. And sure, they might come to a stop of fighting for temporarily, but for long-term peace, it's not clear. And now that India has reestablished its embassy in Kabul and reestablished ties with the Afghan Taliban, it makes the whole fighting and escalation that much more dangerous. And it's so complex, and there's very little intelligence agencies and that who are very strong on the ground that can unravel what's going on for the larger world. They're all looking at Afghanistan from a distance because they've isolated the Taliban. So even analysis, it's all coming from a distance because so few are there in Afghanistan. So it's a difficult time ahead.
The timing, the timeline, India opening embassy, a consulate in Kabul, and the kind of attacks that are happening. And then when you look at from the overall picture, the kind of global conflicts that are on, this really does raise a very, very worrying picture. And that's why, thank you so much, Kathy, for joining us. And that's why, viewers, we are going to be on top of this story. We'll be back with another important update very, very shortly. So stay tuned. But for this edition, thank you so much for watching.